Okay, this is going to be a kind of a walkthrough of how I'm using Endnote at the moment. I'm currently studying for an MPhil. I'm in the process of doing my lit review and reading lots of papers and things like that. And part of me thinks that and people have kind of said that I don't necessarily need to be using Endnote at this point, but actually I seem to have found a way for me to be able to both read PDFs and organise them using Endnote that works for me. So my setup is a Mac. I'm using Endnote X6, and I'm not using the browser version, I'm using the actual application. And I have tried things like Zotero and Skim as reading things for PDFs. My main issue being I want to be able to read the PDF and highlight stuff and make notes in a way that I could then use in Endnote, but I've actually managed to somehow find a way of doing this and containing the whole thing in Endnote. So I'm studying at Birmingham City University, so if you are as well, and this might be useful to you, this page that we're looking at on the browser here is essentially the search that you can do through the front end of iCity. So if you go to iCity and open the library panel or look at the library panel, you can do a search through there and it takes you through. So this is just another version of the front end, and the URL for this is bcu.summon.serialsolutions.com. So first of all, actually, I'm going to come out of here and open a new Endnote library. So I've opened Endnote. If I go to File, New, let's start a new library. So let's call it my test library. And downloads is you need to kind of get a handle on where you want this library to be, because this is where your PDFs will be if you want to get them from somewhere else. So downloads is as good a place as any for now. And then Endnote opens up like this. So to get some papers into Endnote for us then to be able to refer to in a document, let's just do a search. So I'm going to do a search for hyperlocal journalism because that's my kind of area. Hit search, and then this really will only be relevant to this screen to people at BCU. But at this point, so if you haven't seen this before, this is kind of the front end for searching papers through the library. So it kind of shows you what, and as a result of this, I don't actually know a lot of the time at this point what databases it's searching. But I tend to click here, which says limit to articles from scholarly publications. But that's not necessarily something I need to do. So I found a paper here, for example, that I'm interested in. If I hover over it, I get the abstract. But the main point for most people is if I click on it, it will take me through to where that paper is stored. Go to click here for the article. And that takes you through there. Right. So at this point, if I go to full text, so I'm looking for the full text of the article. I'm basically looking for a view of this article that refers to the to a download for Citation Manager. So I can download the citation and download the article and kind of draw the reference for this into Endnote. So the online version of this article can be found at SagePub. So let's click on that, and that takes me through to. So that last page was actually the full PDF, but that's not enough because all I'll be getting then is the PDF. So this is the actual page for the article. So again, here you've got the abstract, and you can get the full text. But we'll ignore that for the moment. What we're looking for is, and this will look different for different databases, download to Citation Manager, which is just here. So I'm going to click, or you can do a find text on the page for Citation Manager. And this should take me to a page with various options, of which Endnote will be one of them. Right, so down that side here we've got Citation Manager Formats, and there we have EndNote. I'm not going for EndNote Web because I'm actually using the application, so EndNote itself. So that's downloaded this here to my downloads, so I can see that at the top there. And actually, this is, remember, this is where the library is as well, so that's quite handy in a way. So that's there. So then if I go back to EndNote, so this is the new library that I've opened, remember, and I go to File, EndNote, Import, and what I need it to import is that EndNote EndNote reference. So there's one thing to select the little download the little file that allows this to happen, but the second part is to select import options, EndNote import, and hopefully this will work. Right, and it's got it. So you can see here at the top where I've selected that, that is the document that I was after. But I don't yet have the PDF. So in order to get the PDF, I right click on that actual, this is my way of doing it, right click that actual line and go down to Find Full Text, and Find Full Text, continue, and this will actually do a search, which you can see here, to pull down that PDF, hopefully, with any luck. And this kind of works for papers, like academic journal papers. In terms of book references, my system so far is to kind of write it in by hand. So actually this is quite a good example of where it hasn't actually found the paper. So let's just go back, but it's found the URL, so it may have found some kind of web reference. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to, on this last page, we'll come back and do this properly in a second, but on this last page there was actually the option of finding the full text PDF. Okay, so at this point, so I've just gone back a couple of steps to this page and then this page, and then I've got the full text. And then, so this has loaded the PDF actually into the browser. If I scroll down, and this is Chrome by the way, so it's made it different for other people, but you just want to save the PDF really. So I'm going to save it to the test library, and we'll need to rename this in a second maybe, but let's call it paper 1, but we'll give it a more meaningful name in a moment. So call that paper 1, and so that's downloaded to that folder. So if you aren't able to download the PDF for some reason through EndNote, you can still, I believe, attach a PDF to that reference. So I've done the same. I've done a right click on the thing, File Attachments, Attach File, and let's go to our downloads, and then that's the paper that we just downloaded, my test library, paper 1, and that then associates that PDF there in that library with this reference here. So when I click on that, you can see over here I've got the full paper. So actually having got your EndNote citation in here, so you've got 3 or 4 of these, and then having downloaded a PDF, whether by using Find Full Text or by downloading the PDF as usual through the browser, and then associating it as we've seen, you can then view the PDF. You can see this one here. Has got the Metzger one, has got the attachment icon there, so you can see the PDF is associated with that. And then you've got a viewer here, so you can either double click. You can double click over here to look at the. You can double click the actual line to open the PDF, I believe. There you go. And at this point, I get the impression this is the point where a lot of people wouldn't necessarily be reading and their PDFs. I mean, I know a lot of people use iPads to do their reading. I tend to find them better if I'm actually sitting at my laptop. So I've got the entire document here. It looks a bit like a normal PDF viewer, but what's quite nice here is that I can highlight sections and make notes. So the main two ways of doing that are just saying, okay, I like this, I might want to refer to that later, and I can go up to here and there's like a highlight text icon, and that will highlight this. That's highlighted. And I can also add a sticky note, which is the icon next to it. It looks like a speech bubble, and you select sticky note and just click the point where you want to type. That puts an icon there, so that kind of associates it with that part of the PDF image, I guess. And then clicking on that, I can make notes. So I might want to put in some keywords like hyperlocal, media, and this is good for me for my paper, something useful like that, I don't know. And then on closing that note, and then furthermore, let's say I've gone through the whole paper, and then when you come to close the PDF, it says if you don't just save changes to the PDF, save them. So that will then close that and collapse it back into the kind of Endnote interface. But if I scroll down here, and actually you can see it on this page 5 here, you can see the yellow highlights are there, and you've got your sticky note there. What you can also now do is you can do a search through your notes, so you can search for any field plus PDF with notes, or just PDF, or just your PDF notes. So if I just say PDF notes, I think one of my notes was something about my paper, wasn't it? So that should do a search. Yes, and it's brought up that Metzger one because that's the only thing I've put any sticky notes on, and I mentioned the paper. I think it was actually for my paper was one of the things I wrote. And that's what it comes up with. Again, it's the same one. So you can search PDF notes, or you can search the full PDF itself. So it's quite useful if you just want to search for references to various points you've made in those sticky notes, like keywords you might have used, for example. Right. So essentially you can read and annotate PDFs using Endnote. Although I'm a bit nervous about the fact that I was starting by making notes in a book, and I may carry on doing that for paper notes in a book. But this is quite useful because also it's collecting all my literature together in a way that then allows me to put it into Word later. And there are loads of tutorials on about how to put your references into Word from Endnote, the application, so I'm not going to bother doing that. The one last thing to show you is that what's quite nice is if I close Endnote and come out of here, the way I can then get back to these, so I just want to look at the PDFs themselves, I can open that My Test Library, and I don't know if you can see there, but there's within the My Test Library, let's just open that, there is a folder, that's the previous paper that I put in there. There's a folder here called PDF, and that's actually put the PDF that I was just looking at into the into this PDF folder, and then it goes into another subfolder for each paper, I believe. But if I open that, it's actually showing me. Close that. It's actually showing me the same PDF, but with, let's hope it's got it. Yeah, with the highlights and the annotations that I had before there. And opening it in preview just opens up the sticky note annotation in the side panel, and I can see that note there. So that's quite useful. Okay, and that's it.